Hey family, we bring a greeting from WCC. This is Frank. I believe this is my last video for 2021. But before then, I want to make a brief announcement. So starting from 2022, next month, the 7th, January 7th, on a Friday, it's going to be a weekly discussion. So I'm going to be on live um, every week on a revolutionary repatriation series program or lecture that we're going to be doing on a weekly basis, and we will need all of you input. So it's going to be the dialogue, so not just me talking. So it's a lecture series, educating African worldwide about various topics, that are dear to our liberation and to our Pan-African movement. So, having said that, let me get into what we are here for. So, it's been a couple of weeks now. I know you heard this story, but we still, think that we should, how to call it, do the recording on it for other people to see. We believe that not everyone have heard about this issue. So some weeks back, there was another thing that was discovered in Africa, specifically in South Africa, the Omicron variant virus that was discovered in South Africa. But the issue here is this virus was already in Europe. It was already discovered in Europe. And WHO, as we have learned, and based on research, WHO, World Health Organization, was aware of the Omicron virus in Europe. But the Europeans were traveling and they were doing a number of activities and they were finding solution and they were giving they were being given vaccine or they were being vaccinated as well, right? Now, this virus went to Africa, and the way in which it went there, nobody know, right? But let me just get back. It seems that there are some forces actually fighting African people. Again, when you say this, it seems like a joke. Like, what do you mean by that, right? But let me take you back. When this whole coronavirus, came out in Wuhan, China, and what happened? They tried to trace it back on the continent to say it came from African people, right? What did they do? The Chinese were going around specifically targeting African people, trying to do tests on them, going to hotels, asking only African people, and not even asking, but trying to force them to do tests on them. Why other nationality, were in those hotels, in those buildings, even in shopping mall and stuff. When they see African, they ask African, like, they want to do tests on you. They want to know where the virus came from. That is, they was actually trying to say, the virus came from Africa because only Africa disease can come from, right? So what that also means is that was this virus actually meant for Africa? Was it meant for Africa in the sense that they were actually taking it to Africa and something happened and it got leaked down the line and it spread to where it was not supposed to be? That's just another question, because why were they targeting African specifically to test them when the thing broke up in China, right? Now, another issue here is that's not China now, but let's come to America or Europe. What did they say when this virus came out? They said black people or African people in America and Europe will be mostly affected by this virus. Now, Europe is not African people in Europe do not have, how they call it, a nation in Europe that are for African with their own government. In America here, or let's say, African people do not have a specific or separate area with its own government. They all reside under the same government, under the same world system, right? But the question is, why would they say African people or black people will be the most affected people in America or in Europe from this coronavirus. Now, what they were saying was African people in America are poor and they have poor healthcare system, right? Now, they did not stop that. They went to Africa. They said, well, Bill Gates and Melinda Bill Gates, what did they say? Fauci, what did they say? Millions of Africans will die because of the poor healthcare condition. The same thing they said about black people here or in Europe, right? It's the same thing they said in Africa, let's say. They said millions of Africans were going to die because of poor healthcare, right? And because of what? Poverty in general. And because of what? Food, lack of food, right? And all of those things, right? Now, what did we do when we heard that? What did African people do? This time around, we did not accept the negativity. We weren't on every platform and social media, make video and say millions of Africans will not die and African will not be affected, right? What did we say? Instead, we said the millions of people they expect to die will not be in Africa, will be in Europe and America. We send it back to them. What that means, right? The power of life and death lies with the tongue. And that means it lies with African people. I don't think African people realize how powerful they are when they speak. So that millions that we're talking about, it did not happen in Africa. In fact, the least affected continent of this virus was Africa. The African continent was the least affected continent when it comes to this virus. Because we did not sit and listen or accept. Because whenever anybody speaks negativity against you and you don't react, you shut up and sit down. That means you accept it and it's going to happen. It will manifest. But we spoke and we said, no, it will not happen this time around. The millions of people that will die will be in America or in Europe. It will not be on the African continent. Now, the Omicron virus came out again, right? What did they do? It was in Europe and they let the World Health Organization aware of the situation. The World Health Organization, because they know that in Europe or in America, they have the facility, right, to save their people. They did not talk about it to say, you know what, let the other world, or let's just say Africa, aware of the situation so that they can start taking proper measure, right? But WHO, being an organization that is not even for Africa, they sat down there and kept silent, right? Now, South Africa discovered it. So what that mean in the first place? They wanted for African people, for this disease to act, they kept silent for this disease to actually kill millions or thousands of African people before America can send her scientists or before Europe can send her scientists to go and do whatsoever they want to do or before they can send their military. Because, when Ebola came, right? What did they do? Instead of Washington, D.C. sending medical experts to Liberia or to Africa, what did they do? They send their military. They send their drones, their guns to go kill Ebola, right? And they left their medical experts, right? So that alone tells you Africa stand on its own. We don't have Allah, we don't have friends. And I will tell you the only Allah and friends that we have, we will come to that point. Now, they kept silent so that African people can die because this whole virus here, right? If you critically look at the analysis of this whole virus, is the scramble for Africa. Maybe some African leaders are not really saying, or some African activists, right, are now seeing the reality or the scramble for Africa that is taking place right on our eye, on our nose. But we will get to that. Now, when South Africa discovered this Omicron variant, what happened? Europe and America got angry. Now listen to this. Dutch authority announced on Tuesday that they found the new Omicron variant of the coronavirus in cases dating back as long as 11 days, indicating that it was already spreading in Western Europe before the first case were identified in South Africa. Now you heard that, right? But when it happened, what did they do? When South Africa discovered it, right, that there was a new variant called Omicron, what did they do? Instead of Europe or Washington, D.C., or Joe Biden, or Macron, or the Queen Elizabeth, or the Prime Minister of England, and so forth, instead of them calling Africa to say, look, listen, we are partners. We are all into this together. Do you need some medical experts? Do you need help? Call us. We are here. They didn't do it. They call African leaders and say, you are being banned. Do not come to America. Do not come to Europe. But look, this variant, right? Been in Europe and they've been traveling to America here, going to Europe. But one night was discovered in Africa and they call African leaders. Look, don't come to Europe. Don't come to America. You are being banned. And most of those nations in Africa that they banned did not even have the Omicron variant. The least affected continent in the world from this disease is Africa. But they call Africa to say, your people shouldn't come here, you are being banned. But when they want to host meeting to steal or exploit our resources, our mineral resources, they call African leaders to host meeting, to have dialogue with them, to convince them that we are in this together. We are one. But when time comes for us to be in it together, they leave us hanging. But that again is another lesson for African leaders. To invest in the continent, to invest in our people, to have our own scientists, our own doctors, our own lawyers, so forth. Europe and America are not allies to the African continent. They are only there seeking their interest. But when it comes to the reality, why they always leave us hanging? Now, listen to this here. Belgium and Germany have also said that sample tests confirmed that variant was in those countries before South African health official alerted the world on November 24th to it existing. Then why did they pose sanction or did they ban the African nations? If this thing was already in Europe and European traveling in America, or American living from here going to Europe and they're traveling all around Europe there, why did they ban Netherlands from going to England or Germany and or so forth? Do you see the hypocrites and the hates in here? Now, let's continue down here, right? Now, South African politicians and scientists have said they feel as though they are being punished for their advanced COVID-19 screening program, which caught the variant and enabled other nations to respond quickly to it, but have resulted in a travel ban which largely target African nations. This is what exactly African nations or South Africa was punished, because they noticed this variant so quickly because they wanted African people to die. The millions of African people they predicted that did not happen, they wanted this time to happen. That is why when they noticed in Europe, they did not talk. Because they said, if we talk, the number of Africans that we expecting them to die, they will not die. Because they will take, quick precautions. So we are just going to shut up and let them die before we can come out to us and say, you guys need help. The time we need help, that's the time they punish us more. They call us and say, don't come here. We are not allies. That's the time they close their border, they close their airline and all of those things. But guess what? There is only one friend or ally we got. And Nelson Mandela told us. What did he say? He said, your enemies are not our enemy, and our enemies are not your enemy. What that means? He said it clear. He said, if the United States or Europe is an enemy to Cuba, Africa is not an enemy to Cuba. Why? Because only Cuba recognized the struggle of African people. Only Cuba recognized the struggle, the liberation of African people. Only Cuba stood up or always stand to the need of African people. But the United States and Europe never recognized African people's struggle and never recognized African people's need. When African people need them the most, that's the time they turn their back on African people. But Cuba have never, in her strength, turned her back on African people. So, I says this to our African leaders. Have you not learned enough? Have you not seen enough? Have you not seen who are your true friends? Have you not seen who are your enemies? Have you not seen who you need to ally with? People that stop you from being your own scientist when you want to make your own vaccine. And they say no. And they put law on it to restrict you. But Cuba said, we will stand with African people. And you don't want to do it. You still follow the enemies. And you leave Cuba behind. I know Nelson Mandela is in his grave. Just rolling all over. Now, this whole Omicron variant. We're not hearing anything about Cuba, the Cuban people dying and suffering and calling Europe or the United States for vaccine. Why not? We go to Cuba. Why not we invite Cuba? But we keep running to people who don't even need. It is a warning. It is time that we wake up in this new struggle or scramble for Africa. Cuba is our only partner that we have, our only ally that we have. And it is time, if we have even wronged Cuba, to go to them and say, we back you. We will never turn our back on you again. You are indeed our partner in struggle, in success, in unity. This is not time to listen to Europe or to America because they always turn their back on us. Cuba have the medical experts. They have the vaccine. They don't need African people to go and be begging them. Cuba don't want to come. Cuba is not in a position to come and exploit you and give you any crumbs. So it is time to get to Cuba and turn our back from the United States and Europe because they are not in our interests. They never fought for the African liberation or for our liberation, except Cuba. And Cuba have always been there. So African leaders, this is a warning. I think I watched a South African leader, Ramaphosa, and he was so angry, and I just laughed. I said, how can a puppet be angry with his master? How can a horse Negro be angry with his master? Because our anger will not last for long, and it will call you back. He was angry that his counterpart that he thought were his counterpart, that he thought America or Washington, D.C. or Europe, were there for him. He said they called him. It was just a phone call they took. They said, don't come here. You are being banned. He was shocked. But why would you be shocked if they do it? Is this the first time that they turn your back? They turn their back on Africa? It is time. It is a warning. It is time that we African people need to wake up. You have to be a Pan-Africanist. If you are now being a Pan-Africanist as an African leader, it is time for you to be a Pan-Africanist and work with Pan-African organization. And stop being greedy. Africa got everything that it needs. Labor force, resources, everything. The rest of the world are scrambling. The rest of the world are falling. And they are depending on Africa. And as they depend on Africa, they do not want to come be the underdog. They do not want to come, you be the head. They want to be the head to control you on your own continent, on your own resources. And they're not going to build. They're going to control you, extract your resources, and bring it back. Just how they did it from the past. They want to do it with the present. But please, I do not want to make this video long. It have already passed. African leaders, be wise. This is the time. It is our time. These nations are failing. These nations are falling. They are no longer holding apart. They are no longer holding. They are drifting. They are falling. They are failing. Wake up. It is time for you to rise and take your place. Everything that we have lost as African people, it is time to get it. Don't get it twisted. I'll see you in the next recording.